Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more soon.
I'm gonna put on the positive side, right? Focus, take whatever it is you're making right now, and I'm telling you, we will see a completely different world, all right? Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more soon.
This really doesn't look like dinner.
Come on, somebody. Come on, so we're going to do really confident that we already know.
I can do some things to supplement what the education system is not providing.
Teammates, first and foremost, if this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Great to have you. Welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork, and it will continue to be the number one show on innovative teamwork. To my regular listeners, you already know, get right into the point. Now, before I start today's discussion, I got to make a few announcements. If you are a high school athlete, be sure that is looking for the right college to attend, the right college, the perfect match. Be sure you contact me, whether you are the athlete that's listening to me right now, or you're the parent of a high school athlete that's listening to me right now. Be sure you contact me. I am a business development director for a company named Proactive Athletes, and we have access to a database in which we'll make it so you and your athlete, it doesn't matter what the sport is, you and your high school athlete will have the tools to make the right searches, and that way you find the correct college. All right. Also, if you are a collegiate athlete, if you are an athlete that's already playing in college, I am very active in the NIL business. I am very active with name, image, and likeness. I do a lot of work in terms of clarifying how to navigate this transfer portal and all the chaos that comes with it, right? Make sure you contact me as well if you're interested in doing an NIL deal, or are you interested in seeking some advice on how you should navigate the transfer portal, or even if you should enter the transfer portal as it is, all those kinds of things. I dive really, really heavy into all of that kind of work. Make sure you contact me at moveswiftly44@gmail.com. Again, the email is moveswiftly44@gmail.com. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, as far as today's specific topic, I'm going to talk to you guys today all about how to eliminate a toxic work environment. All right. Now, this topic, I will tell you, is something that every single person needs to hear. Every single person needs to hear, because I'm talking to you specifically, you most likely are responsible. As a matter of fact, you're not most likely, you're definitely responsible. You are to blame if you are in an environment where the work is very where the people and the way they communicate, and the lack of I'll say it like this: the lack of communication amongst the employees is incredibly toxic, incredibly non-existent, incredibly clicky. And by that I mean CLIQUE, clicky, as in if they're groups of people that are only speaking to this group of people, and this group of people that aren't speaking to this one because they have their personal shit with this person, and it's all sorts of just back and forth, saying shit behind each other's back, all that kind of stuff. It goes on way too much. And I am here as your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, as your host of this podcast that is broaching 600 episodes at this point, that's all about teaching business owners ways to innovate, ways to implement innovative teamwork. This is a very, very important discussion that we're getting ready to have, because it crosses over into every single industry. And it happens too often. All right. I'll give you a few examples here. All right. This was actually before I even started this podcast. This was before COVID happened. This had to be around 2018, 2019 time, like a while back at this point, where I was the lead trainer. I was the head trainer for the gym franchise. It was the specific gym that I trained out of was the 9 Round in Plantation, and 9 Round kickboxing and fitness is part of a franchise, meaning there has to be an owner that buys into the franchise. They buy into the franchise and they have their own gym, and they're kind of free to do their own thing, but they still are required to operate under the franchise guidelines. So in many ways, it can be, you can call yourself a business owner, but it's very much most of the 9-round franchise, most of the 9-round business owners that I've met really just paid to have another job, because they call themselves the owner of the franchise, but at the same time they're operating under the system of the 9-round headquarters, the 9-round corporate people, which is located in South Carolina. And they are to operate under the guidelines of those rules. They're restricted in terms of the things that they can do when it comes to what they want to do from a marketing standpoint, how they want to sell their brand, the kinds of things that they want to allow in their gym. All of that stuff gets reviewed by the actual 9-round corporate headquarters. So they call themselves business owners because the title is really good, but in reality, they just simply pay to have another job. All right. So I was excelling as a head trainer at this 9-round. It was the perfect position for me. I had moved to South Florida because I wanted to work for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. I had a part-time job with the Miami Dolphins Foundation where I was selling raffle tickets. I was excelling as a seller, and I was also working as a trainer. And, there was a great deal of synergy between the business, between what the Miami Dolphins Foundation wanted to do, which is connect with the community of South Florida, connect with people in the community of South Florida, create events, create opportunities to engage the community of South Florida, and then me becoming known as kind of this very motivational speaking type trainer who would be showing up every day and give the members a great deal of inspiration throughout that 30-minute workout that I used to put him through every single day. All right. So I was excelling in that position. All right. So here's where things actually went left. All right. Things actually went left when the owner of this gym, he hired 2 people. He hired two people, which ultimately led me to see things in this guy that made me realize I have got to cut ties with him as soon as the opportunity comes up for me to cut ties with this guy. I'm cutting ties with him because of the way the 2 trainers that he brought in while I was kind of at my peak moment of being a head trainer at 9-round. All right. The 2 people that he brought in, one was a professional, one used to be an amateur boxer. I think he fought some amateur fights, and, he came in knowing a great deal on how to, teach mitts and, teach pad drills and do a lot of cool things with the members. And then the other trainer that he brought in had a background in CrossFit training and boot camp style training, where you're working with med balls, you're doing bicep, you're doing burpees and all that kind of stuff. So their expertise and their fortes were 2 different styles. All right, there were 2 different styles. Now, obviously, the one who had the boxing background was the more popular one with the members because they're walking in to a boxing gym. So they're expecting to learn how to box. So he obviously had the liking, and the members liked him more than the guy who did boot camp style training. All right. So there was a lot of chatter between the members and the sad part, it was the owner was involved with this chatter as well. But there was a lot of chatter between the members and the other trainer about this specific, the trainer that had the boot camp background. There was a lot of chatter. He's not this, he's annoying, he's always yelling, or he's too sarcastic. There was a lot of complaints coming from the members. All right. And I had to listen to a lot of these complaints too. And I would say, just like I just told you guys, look, it's 2 different styles. One has a forte in boxing and the other has a forte in boot camp. You guys are walking into a boxing gym, so you're obviously biased to the guy. You're biased to the guy who is teaching you how to box, because that's what you're expecting when you're walking into this gym. I've done both, so I know the different styles. If you put this boxing trainer in a boot camp style type of gym, he would not excel the way he excelled when he was at 9-round. I'm just telling you the truth. I know this. I know the fitness business. I've been in it for a couple of years. I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this, right? I was the head trainer there for a reason. So anyway, eventually the complaints got so loud and the whispers got so loud amongst the members that I decided myself, it was myself, the owner of 9Round, the trainer that had the background in boxing, and then the boot camp style trainer. All four of us had a meeting. And we just, I think it was, in fact, it was me. It was me who suggested to the owner, I'm like, look, the complaints are getting too crazy. You have too many people complaining about him. Do you want to just have a meeting with all four of us and we can, talk everything out and put everything on the table? Because I know at that point in my career, I knew the problem and how much it will fuck up your business to continue to have these complaints over and over again and you not do anything about it, or nothing being said about it, or people talking so much shit behind an individual's back that eventually it just gets to the point where like, yo, it turns into an absolute shit show, right? So long story short, we have the meeting, and from my perspective, everything was finished after that. Once I heard his side of the story, once I heard him kind of talk about what it is he wants to do with his business and, where he's trying to take it and kind of get everything off my chest and off his chest, everything was fine. All right. So here's where the toxic work environment happened. Here's where everything sort of happened in terms of how toxic this work environment came, to the point where now, as I record this, none of us are working there anymore. Whether it was myself, whether it was the trainer who had a background in boxing, and both the boot camp guy, all of us left. All of us left this owner because he didn't stop. He didn't do anything to eliminate what he saw. He didn't do anything to eliminate how toxic the work environment got after this meeting. All right. So here's what happened. The trainer who had the boot camp background started to explain himself, started to open up, started to say things that the trainer who had the boxing background, I'm doing my best not to put any names out there on this episode. As a seasoned speaker, I know how to give you the concept without, putting anybody's name and throwing any names under the bus. That's what you get with a podcast host that is as experienced as I am, and as a speaker who is as experienced as I am, by the way. But anyway, so the boot camp guy, the guy with the boot camp, the guy who had the background in boot camp training and as a boot camp trainer, and the guy who had the background in boxing, right? As the fella who had the boot camp background was explaining himself, he was saying some things about, I don't worry about me taking your clients or taking your members and turning them into my clients. I don't do that. I don't do this. He was basically just saying some stuff that the gentleman who had the boxing background didn't like. He didn't like it at all. And instead of this motherfucker actually saying it to him, to his face, instead of him saying, hey, man, I don't think that's true. Instead of him stopping him and saying, yo, you're lying about that. I saw when you did this. I saw when you did that. Instead of him stopping him, he gets up. This is the guy who has the boxing background. He gets up and just leaves. Gets up and just leaves. Up and leaves. Doesn't say a word. Up and fucking leaves. All right. So what I thought initially, as when he did that, I thought he actually had somewhere to go. I thought there was actually, the meeting was running longer than he had anticipated, and he actually had somewhere to go. The next fucking morning, he comes in and complains about what the boot camp guy did. He's lying about this. He's lying about that. I mean, just completely bashed this man, completely murdered this man. And I'm wondering, why the fuck didn't you tell him all this last night? You could have expressed all of this shit to him last night to his face. Not only that, instead of him keeping that conversation between me, him, and the owner and the other boot camp trainer, he goes around and starts saying all this shit to the members, creating more of an environment, creating more of a toxic work environment, and just basically ruining the business that this owner had built and paid to have. All right. That is what created the toxic work environment. That is why me and that owner no longer speak. And that's why it got so bad with me in that place, because the environment and everything that motherfucker was about ruined everything. Because he, instead of there being a problem, if there was a problem between myself and him, or a problem between myself and the owner or another trainer, it wasn't staying between the trainers. It was going to go to a member. It was going to go here. It was going to go there. And eventually the entire gym was going to know about it. And it created the toxic work environment that we're going to talk about how we're going to eliminate. And the reason I had to break all of that down for you is because just recently, just this week, now this has been, like I said, this was 6 or 7 years ago since I lived through that. I'm in a completely different place. I'm in a completely different situation. I'm an educator. I am a teacher at a charter school that teaches from K through 5. It's a great opportunity for me. It's an incredible facility, a beautiful setup, especially for someone like me who's in the thought leadership world, who is a Black author, who is someone that, young Black kids are going to look at as somebody that they can look up to, or someone that they can aspire to be like, someone that they can admire because of the intellectual property that I have out there, because of this podcast, because of everything that they can find about me in a quick Google search. All right. I am someone that is able to reach these young Black kids in a way that most of my colleagues at this school cannot. Let's say that again. I am someone who can reach these young Black kids that we teach every day in a way that my colleagues, the very colleagues that I go to work with that I teach with every single day, they cannot reach these kids the way I can reach these kids because of my presence. And when I can reach these kids, I can also reach their parents. I can also reach more parents and more kids. And there's a ton of things that this school can build around the work that I was already doing before I even heard about the damn school. All right. So this week we had a meeting, if that's what you want to fucking call it. And I saw some of the same things that I was dealing with when I was at 9 Round. A lot of those same principles, a lot of those same things started to reoccur. And it got me absolutely fired up. And I have to come on here and I have to speak to you about how we got to eliminate this bullshit, eliminate this toxic work environment that gets created within the blink of an eye, that gets created because people don't have the fucking balls, all right, excuse my French, but don't have the goddamn balls to just say what they got to say when the opportunity presents itself. Instead, they're going to go find someone that they're comfortable with and then say what you should have said to the person individually so we could have fixed the fucking problem. Okay, if this 9 round boxing guy would have just simply said what he said to me to the boot camp guy, again, they might have argued a little bit or might have went back and forth a little bit. At the end of the day, they would have understood each other and then they would have tried to change. Eventually, what happened is this motherfucker would not come to work. So this is just to cap off this 9 round thing. Eventually, what started to happen was he wouldn't show up to work when the boot camp trainer was there. So it wasn't that he wasn't available to work. It wasn't that he had something else to do. He purposely, like some woman, just like this a specific woman that I'm sure you know, he would not show up to work because of this boot camp trainer who was there. So whenever hours, he would try to avoid him and all this kind of shit, like actual shit that women do. Women do this kind of bullshit. All right. I'm telling you, this is what we're talking about a man here that does shit that a woman would do. I was embarrassed. I mean, there was one time, listen to me. There was one time where, I would work the shift in the morning. So I'd be there from 9 to 1:30. And then the boot camp trainer would come in. He'd come in the afternoon. Right. So when it got to be around 1 o'clock, we would close the doors because the workout lasts for 30 minutes or whatever. And there was one time where I see the trainer who had the background in boxing. I saw him come in late for a workout. I'm like, wait a minute, don't you normally do this in the afternoon? And he goes, yeah, but so-and-so's working in the afternoon and I don't want to be around him or anything like that. Like, are you fucking, so you got this man get you jumping your workout schedule and all this kind of, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed. embarrassed for this man, because how the fuck you gonna call yourself a man and you ducking and dodging another man? What kind of shit is that? Let me take a drink before I go. All right, I digress. All right, as far as the reason I'm bringing this up, because again, I was reminded of this, and there was similar. We had a meeting at the school this past week that reminded me of everything that I lived through, everything that happened after that meeting at Nine Round, where it was the same kind of bullshit, where you have so much you want to say, you have so much you want to say when the boss isn't around, so much you want to talk about, so much complaining when the motherfuckers who can actually do something about the complaint, about the problem you're having, you have so much to say when they're not there, but when they're there, you don't say a damn word. You keep your fucking mouth shut. That is the most ridiculous thing in the world. In fact, there's a legendary clip. There's a video on 50 Cent. You can look this. I'll try to look this up and add it to the show. But there was a video in which I was watching where 50 Cent was talking about business and his business endeavors and how he became so successful with a lot of the business and the brands that he's built and all that kind of stuff. And he made a point. I remember this. He said, look, if you're in a meeting and someone says something before you, or you don't raise your hand, or you don't offer an input, whatever, or if somebody, has an answer before you, or someone is more vocal than you, that person deserves to get the deal. That person deserves to be ahead of you in line. That person deserves to have whatever it is you're asking for because of you, because they stepped up and they said something, when the opportunity presented itself. And I wholeheartedly agree. All right. Because I was actually thinking about that clip. I was actually thinking about that clip throughout this entire meeting that I didn't even know that we were going to have the meeting until the day before. So this is how ridiculous this meeting was. All right. I find out then, by the way, I'm recording this on 2 days. It's December 23rd, 2023. We're 2 days away from Christmas. So I'm recording this on that's the day I'm recording. I'm recording this near the holiday season and all that kind of stuff. Right. So the meeting was about, the teachers were very, very upset at the fact that we didn't get the full 2 weeks off from Christmas all the way through New Year's or whatever, like they do in the public school system. They were upset about that, and they thought that they were going to get the full 2 weeks off, yada, 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 all that jazz. Now, I didn't even know about this meeting until the day before. All right. I had another colleague come up to me and say, hey, by the way, you're going to have to sit in on this meeting because the teachers are having a mutiny or whatever. And they're going to talk to I'm not going to put his name out there, but they're going to talk to the guy who hired all of us. And they're going to ask for that week off or that 2 weeks off or whatever. And, you have to, even though I had no idea this meeting was going on, I had to be involved in it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I didn't even know that these complaints were actually happening because I don't, honestly, I don't really communicate. I don't try to be friends with these colleagues. I know that's not a good idea to try to befriend colleagues, especially when you're in the business I'm in, where, again, I could be the face. I'm the person that could reach these kids in ways that they cannot. All right. So I don't try to befriend these colleagues too much. Obviously I say good morning. I have great personality. They see me every day having fun and interacting with the kids, but I don't try to build a relationship with them outside of the school. Right. So, but anyway, she tells me, yeah, so you're gonna have to sit in on this meeting, and they're gonna ask for those 2 weeks off, all that kind of stuff, yada, 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 yada. I'm like, okay, well, that sounds good. I don't mind. Again, I wouldn't mind not having to come in or not having to be or whatever. I'm open to hear this conversation. I'm always open to this kind of stuff. This is my world. This is my business. This is what the whole Move Swiftly brand is all about. Innovative teamwork. All right, let's work together. Let's talk this out. Let's do whatever it is we got to do. And, honestly, I was very excited, even though I just found out a day before the meeting, right? So we have this meeting, and it dawned on me as we were getting to this meeting that the person that they were asking, the person who is I'm reluctant to even call him a boss, but the person who was responsible for hiring all of us as teachers, it dawned on me within the first 5 seconds of the meeting that he had no idea that this was going on. So they blindsided the guy with the meeting and saying, oh, well, we want those 2 weeks off. All right. So just to give you some clarification, just to give you some perspective here. This is a charter school. All right. This is a charter school, meaning there's two separate sides to this business. There is the business. There's the business. There's the people out there every single day, calling donors, making cold calls, trying to create events, trying to fundraise, trying to create money, trying to create traffic, trying to create a revenue stream to come into this place so the teachers can get paid a certain salary. There's that side. And then there's the side of the educators where you just show up, you teach, you get paid, and you go to fuck home. You don't have to worry about getting told no. You don't have to worry about the sales side of it. You don't have to worry about all of the rejection that comes from being in the sales business. All right. So there's two sides. The person that is responsible for giving the teachers what they were essentially asking for, which is that whole week off from Christmas to New Year's or whatever it is they were asking, whatever specific days they were asking for, that person is on the business side, and that person was not in this meeting. So the meeting that they had was, the person that they were asking for this time off from, he doesn't have control. And this is what he said in the meeting. He said, I don't have control over the salary of the days that you guys get off. I don't have control over that. All right, you guys get your PTO, which stands for paid time off, and it's up to you to be strategic about how you use it. And I thought I was very clear about that in the interview. Like, I don't have the authority to give you specifically what you're asking for in this meeting. Now, he a whole lot better than me, because if I was in his seat, I would have ended the meeting right there, because I would have been very offended at the fact that you guys blindsided me with the meeting. Nobody came to me privately and asked if I was doing anything today, or if we could do this, or if we could talk about this, or if there was somebody else I could have brought in so we can get something productive out of the meeting. All right, that's what I was at. First of all, it's very offensive that you guys would do that. Secondly, I can't give you what you're asking for. And if you guys would have done your research on the damn company and what this entire business is all about, you would have known that by simply going online and reading what we're about. That's what I would have. That's what I wanted him to say. If I was in his shoes, that's what I would have said to these group of teachers, that I have the audacity to be, blindsiding me and then asking for days off and things like that. Here's where he made his mistake. He started saying things like, oh, well, that can change. And, he just basically started talking in circles and telling us stuff that wasn't any of our business. He was talking about, maybe the CEO can change and this can happen and all that, all this hypothetical bullshit that just wasn't necessary at all for us to know. Me personally, I don't give out people's information about where they're going to be or what CEO they're searching for, anything. I don't do that unless I have the blessing from the guy above. Again, I've been in business too long to know that, hey, you just don't do that kind of shit. All right. So here's where the issue came. And I didn't even realize it was an issue until after the meeting. I'm going to get to my point in a second. All right. So as we started chatting, and in my mind, I'm thinking about the YouTube clip with 50 and, making sure I say something, even though I didn't really know this was a meeting. I felt like I needed to make sure the one and only Move Simply Speaking gotta speak up, you know what I'm saying? So I said something about, okay, I'm kind of the problem solver and all that. So I said something along the lines of, hey, maybe we can start doing more things as a staff. Maybe we can communicate more. Maybe we can, maybe some happy hour, maybe make sure we're having these meetings regularly where we're communicating with us as adults and kind of seeing where we're at, seeing where our progress is at. I made these suggestions. And then the head of I guess you can call him the head of the school or whatever his title is. He said something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He said, he wasn't talking to me directly, but he was talking to another teacher while he was spending way too much time explaining himself, which he didn't need to explain himself. He just needed to tell us, look, not getting that time off and get the fuck out and move on. And he didn't do that, but he's spending his time explaining this and explaining that. And then he brought up a specific girl, a young first grade Black girl that he brought up and said, hey, if we have to kick big girl out, he said her name. If we have to kick her out, then we have to kick her out. move on. And that's what rubbed me the wrong way. That's what really pissed me off. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Because again, I get the business. I've been on the business side. I understand that this is a company that runs, and you can't have this mentality of, oh, I'm going to kick kids out and be good with it. That is the wrong approach, and none of us should be okay or happy with kicking any kids out. I don't give a damn how bad the kid is. You shouldn't be happy when kids get kicked out. You just shouldn't be, all right? Not in this type of environment where we're not getting as many kids as it is, not with the numbers of all the young Black kids who are not reading on grade level. I mean, the numbers are absolutely staggering. If I was to give you the numbers on the amount of young Black and brown kids that are not even reading on grade level, it would be absolutely sickening to you, all right? So for you to say, okay, if we have to kick a kid out because the teacher can't handle it, then we just have to do it. And then he runs me through this bullshit about, oh, well, we still get paid regardless, or all this political mumbo jumbo that he gave me about, well, we still gonna get paid even if we kick so and so out. And he said her name, right? So I offered a little bit of pushback, and I said that shouldn't be the mentality. Now, we didn't get into a back and forth. I just put it out there, thinking that I was going to actually get some support from my fellow teachers, but obviously that didn't happen, because once the meeting ended, and again, it was myself, it was maybe 2 or 3 other people that actually spoke in this meeting. The other teachers said absolutely nothing, all right? Said absolutely nothing. As soon as we get out of this meeting, I'm hearing all of this fucking chatter between this clique. There's like a clique of Black girls, all right? There's a clique of Black girls that they just hired this year, and they've formed this friendship that is ruining the morale of the environment, it's ruining the morale of the school. So as soon as the meeting ended, I see all of them talking aloud. There were some that were in the meeting, some weren't in the meeting, but the people who were in the meeting who didn't say shit had all this fucking shit to say, all this talk, all this, oh, you shouldn't do this, and we not gonna get the time off it. He said this. I mean, just absolutely just murdering this man who you just fucking spoke to. You just had this conversation. We were just in a meeting, and you didn't say a goddamn thing. And then, again, I was hearing these conversations. They were loud enough to where I was hearing these conversations, and I got into it with one of the trainers, like, why didn't you say this just now when we were in the meeting? Why didn't you say it to his face? And then she starts coming at me on some, oh, what were you thinking saying that, oh, we shouldn't kick the kid out, or if there's a bad kid, we don't need to go. I'm like, well, how the fuck do you want to get paid? How exactly is the paycheck going to be coming in if you have this mentality of kicking kids out? And instead of her finishing the conversation, her punk ass goes and runs away, walks away, and now she and I don't talk, which is fine, totally fine. I don't want to be your friend any fucking way. I didn't get it, like I told you before. I didn't get into this business. I didn't come to this school so I can make friends with the colleagues. That wasn't my intention as it is. All right. So now there's that clique of crew that doesn't speak to each other, is only speaking to each other. They want to complain about stuff, but they're not going to actually do anything about it. You have that crew that needs to raise money. You have that crew that wants to please everyone and wants to make sure the teacher, all that kind of stuff. And essentially, what's it going to lead to? You guys can go ahead and answer the question with it. It's going to lead to a toxic work environment, the same way that it led to a toxic work environment when I was in 9 Round. Now, again, 9 Round is fitness. This is a fitness brand. I am talking to you about an education brand, brands that are all about an institution for higher learning, an institution for education. And the same motherfucking problem is happening. Doesn't matter what the industry is. All right. So here's the solution. And for the record, if this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, this is what I do. I get deep. I break down a problem. I talk to you about the elements and the roots and the things that have created this problem. And then I offer you a solution. And the solution is very, very simple. It's very simple. In fact, let me take a sip of water before I even give you the solution, because it's very simple, very short and sweet. All right. Here's the solution. I read this I think it was like the first book that I've actually ever read from cover to cover. It was a book written by the legendary Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz, legendary college football coach. It's titled Winning Every Day. All right. And he broke the book is basically basically a book full of stories, inspirational stories that he would just tell and tell and tell. There was no real structure to it. It was just story after story after story after story. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. All right. So he told this story. He told this story about when he was, I believe it was either Notre Dame or South Carolina. I can't remember what school he was coaching at, but he told the story about when his football team was going on a losing streak. They weren't looking good. Things were just getting bad. The morale of the team was not looking good. And you know how it is when teams just go on those losing streaks, right? And he said he had a meeting with his team, his entire team. It was the entire team there, coaches, everyone that's involved in the day-to-day from the football program. And he said, look, I don't know what's going on with you all. I don't know why we're losing so much. I don't know why the work has been so bad or why we're not producing or executing the way we need to be executing. But we ain't leaving this fucking room until everyone speaks and everyone talks to them about the problem and the goddamn problem is solved. All right. And I'm telling you that's the solution. That's the solution. Anybody that's listening to me right now that can resonate with anything that I've said throughout this entire episode, when it comes to the toxic work environments, when it comes to the clique that you may be a part of that you didn't even realize, oh my God, all this complaining I'm doing, all this talking behind somebody's back is I'm doing my part in creating a work environment that's toxic. I'm doing my part in ruining somebody else's goals, ruining somebody else's business. The people out there grinding and who may need this opportunity, may see this opportunity as a golden opportunity for them. I'm ruining what they're trying to do because of my selfish ass. If you are in that world, understand that the solution, I'm telling you the solution to stop this, you've got to speak up and you've got to have a meeting right now. Again, if you're a business owner, I know primarily the business owners who listen to the show, if you're a business owner and you are feeling it, you're feeling the toxicity, you're feeling the negative energy, you're feeling coworkers who aren't being cordial with each other. Again, I'm not asking every coworker to like each other. It's not going to happen. I don't happen 90% of the motherfuckers I deal with every day I don't fucking like. All right. But I'm cordial with them. I'm respectful to them. It's good morning. It's hi, how you doing? We're here to do what's best for the kids and we keep it moving. I don't have to like you. I don't have to be your friend. All right. But if you start to sense that the co-work or the work environment is to the point where people aren't even being cordial with each other, they're not even being cordial with each other, you have a meeting right now and do exactly what Lou Holtz did and say, look, we ain't leaving this room. We're not leaving this motherfucking room until every single one of you guys speak, you say what's on your mind, and we come to a solution. Because I'm telling you right now, if you don't do it and I start to continue to see this cliquey bullshit and I continue to see people not doing what's best for the kids or not doing what's best for whatever your bottom line is, I'm going to just start terminating motherfuckers. I'm going to just start getting rid of motherfuckers. You got to be an asshole. Sometimes as a boss, let me rephrase that. You got to be an asshole all the time as a boss. All right. You can be friendly with people, but at the end of the day, they got to know as a boss, you can lay the motherfucking hammer down when you want to. And you got to break it down just like that. So they don't come up with bullshit where you're getting blindsided with meetings or you have situations where motherfuckers are available to work, but they ain't working because they don't want to talk to this guy and this one is this. Fuck that. Do your goddamn job. Fuck. Again, to recap, all right? Today we broke down a lot of the elements. We broke down a lot of the elements that go into a toxic work environment, all right? I'll just go back, listen to it. We broke down a lot of the things that go into creating a toxic work environment. And your solution, just so I'm on the record saying this, your solution needs to be get everyone in a room, get every single person in a room. I don't know where the room is going to be. I don't know what you're going to do. Get every single person in a room and you are going to have a conversation and you're going to say it just like Lou Holtz said it to his team. All right. We ain't leaving this room until everyone expresses themselves. Everyone says what's on their mind, where their head is, where their heart is, and it's all on the table so we can fix it. So you can't say, I didn't give you the opportunity to say what you need to be said, say what needs to be said. We fix the situation and we move on as professionals. That's how you fix it. That's how you fix a problem and you get as direct as humanly possible with these people. All right. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.